We have one such individual whom the Danish ambassador to India proudly said as a hero and as an ambassador for humanity. Currently holding the fort for the 𝗃𝗵𝗱𝗍𝗵 Business Council, a person who's responsible for bringing both these countries together time and again, and someone who is a true ambassador for India, outside India and within India. And you pioneered in establishing an independent telecom consulting company, which later on played a pivotal role in transforming the entire telecommunication industry and really scaling the nation to where it stands today.
We set up the first Nortel switch, digital switch with the international gateway with the 6,000 DID numbers.
Played a role for the modern day phone calls to initiate phone calls.
Helping investors to succeed.
You being the ultimate bridge between Indian IT and Polish IT.
Mr. Rao, we are comfortable. We'll set up for it. We don't need to go and look for Hungary or Romania or somewhere else.
You are not coined the ambassador for humanity without a reason.
It was call of my duty,
Indian diaspora I'm talking about. How do you think they are responsible for the future of India?
First, you people take care the interests of the country where you are living, adopted country. Then, remaining time or resources, whatever you have, you can contribute to the.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode of the 𝗪𝗱 Show. We talk about nation building. We talk about India first. We hardly talk about that nation building doesn't just happen from within India. It happens from across the borders. We have one such individual whom the Danish ambassador to India proudly said as a hero and as an ambassador for humanity. This individual, at a young age of 17, decides to move to Poland. And at that time, when the country was going through a turbulence in terms of political environment, this individual stood tall and gifted Poland with the next generation of the telecommunication technology. Born to a freedom fighter in a modest family in Andhra Pradesh, his father was once given a shoot-on-sight orders. With that kind of a humble beginning to making India tall on a global scenario. Currently holding the fort for the 𝗃𝗵𝗱𝗍𝗵 Business Council, a person who's responsible for bringing both these countries together time and again, and someone who is a true ambassador for India, outside India and within India. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Jagadeswara Rao 𝗏𝗏. Mr. Rao, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sunil. Delighted to be here.
Mr. Rao, the pleasure is all mine. You and I go back almost over a decade, and I have nothing less than admiration for you. I know we've been talking about this episode for a long, long time, and I'm really thankful that you decided to come all the way to Vadodara in Gujarat and shoot with us in our studio here. It's been a pleasure to have you here, and I'm sure as we have this conversation and learn and unlearn a lot of things about geopolitics, a lot of things about putting our country first, a lot of things about latest technologies. For our audience, it's going to be an immense knowledge house. And I look forward to this conversation.
Thank you. I've been watching your podcast and delighted to be here, Sunny.
Likewise. Mr. Rao, let's start from the very beginning. Tell us more about your humble beginning. Where were you born? What was your childhood like? We'd like to know more about it.
Yeah, I was born in a village, Chikala, the place close to the coastal town of coastal area of Andhra Pradesh state, close to Rajahmundry, the nearest town, big town. And then went to the school till 10th grade in that area. And then intermediate, I moved to 𝗪𝗵𝗵 where my sister was staying with my sister. And then once intermediate is completed, I got a chance to study in Poland. I got a scholarship from the government of Poland. So then I left and I was around 17 years old.
Such a young age. You must be having such clarity of thoughts to get into a country who probably no one from your family or maybe your town would have been there at that time. And still getting into a country during that time, we're talking about 70s here, right?
80s.
80s.
In mid 80s.
And the country was going through a political turmoil themselves. What was it like when you landed in Poland?
Oh, it was reasonably improved. Like there was martial law in the early 80s in Poland, but then when I arrived, like in 1985, November, it was a little better than what my colleagues, which they have told me. Like in those days, in the shops, except a sales girl and some acid or something, there nothing is there in the shelves. So those were the days my colleagues, my seniors went through. But when I arrived, at least the things were available, but on a ration basically. So we used to get a ration card every month from our college, whereas first 9 months I went to study the Polish language, because that was prerequisite to study later on in my university in telecommunications. 𝗍𝗵𝗱𝗱𝗂𝗀𝗶 to telecommunications is my major. So in those days, we used to get, because I was younger, below 18, so I used to get 3.5 kilos meat. The idols used to get 2.5 kilos because I'm minor, so I used to get 3.5 kilos because I need to grow. So that is what the system, the socialism, they believed in that kind of stuff, right? So it was a challenging, but also something new. So, but we are young, so easy to adapt, right? But the primary role played the teacher, right? My teacher, Bojana Javaskar. So the school, language school, they have 50 plus years of experience that time already teaching Polish language, right? For international students, they did a phenomenal job, and then the teacher makes us feel at home. The love and affection what we miss from home, from mother and parents, siblings, the teacher takes almost the role. So that's why we were able to survive. Otherwise, the first 1 week I was looking for my ticket, whether I have the written ticket to come back. But I have only 1 way ticket I went with. So slowly when the teacher started the classes, right, we got used to. It was cold. It was like November 8th I reached there, so it was quite cold, and I didn't have the winter clothes. So within a short time, everything slowly got used to.
Interesting. You graduated in early 90s.
Yeah.
At that time, Poland as a country was moving from socialism to being a market economy. What led you to make a pivotal decision that I want to devote myself to telecommunication industry and create a positive impact for Poland?
Yeah, it was quite interesting times, like when the system changed, right? There is there is some connection also with India. The solidarity movement, which led that transition, which led the fight against the communism, basically, right? They followed the Mahatma Gandhi principle of, we are the land of Gandhi here, Gujarat. So they followed the Mahatma Gandhi principle of ahimsa, or non-violent process. That's why there was no any violence or any shooting. The opposition and the government, they agreed across the round table how to dismantle the system. It's quite interesting, actually, the whole phenomena. Of course, church played a major role. Pope John Paul II was the Polish origin. He was the Pope, so he also played behind the scene a role, I'm sure. And then they discussed, they debated, and they agreed, certain way to dismantle, but it went way ahead than what they agreed upon, right? In the first agreement of this round table, the elections were held. So the president position should be a president, and also some foreign affairs and defense and home affairs should be held the previous regime. But the results indicated that overwhelming support to the solidarity movement followers, supporters. Then on the day, there is on the main newspaper, 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, that one is a cowboy, with a hat, going to voting. Let's vote, let us dismantle the system completely, kind of the message. So people raised up to the situation, and then voting went through. Then once the voting is over, the government decided, the opposition part, one of the leaders suggested that, so we'll take full control kind of message. So then the establishment also agreed slowly to give away their powers. So overall, it was a quite interesting experience, something to learn. In South Africa, it was a different path also led by Mandela. But in Poland, like Walesa was already laid at that time. Everybody knows around the world, he was the symbol of that movement.
Interesting. We've done some research, and if you look at those times of 1993, if I to be precise, it took almost 10 days to make a simple international phone call from Poland.
Right.
Those were the times.
Yes.
And you pioneered in establishing an independent telecom consulting company, which later on played a pivotal role in transforming the entire telecommunication industry and really scaling the nation to where it stands today from a telecommunication standpoint. Tell us more about those days.
Yeah, once I completed my studies, right, so this is very interesting times, right. In the transition, it was like the inflation was extremely high, right, hundreds of percent, used to increase the prices day by day sometimes. So, but the curiosity is there, what is going to come next, right. People are just buying whatever available because they know that money has no value, right? So there are a lot of people who are importing stuff from India, and then local people used to pay upfront, and whatever leftover from the import, the other people could buy only. So I met one gentleman who studied in Harvard Business School, an American guy. So he initiated this telecom consulting business. Actually, I joined him. It was his idea, joining. So in Warsaw, there's a 5-star hotel, Warsaw Marriott, which is like a 20 stories office building, 20 stories hotel. So the guests, those days used to, when they visit to Poland, only they had to stay there, mostly the Americans and Westerners. So, but they could not make a phone call because, there was no international dial tone those days, right? They had to book a call and wait. Well, it will be connected. Nobody knows, right? So it was sometimes 7 days, sometimes 10 days, So that was the scenario situation where we set up the first no-till switch, digital switch with the international gateway with a 6,000 DID numbers. So I was managing that operations of that. It was very interesting, fun time because we used to deal with almost every investor who used to come to Poland in those days, and they used to come only to that place because that whole place is that
Interesting.
telephone connectivity.
So you kind of played a role for the modern day phone calls to initiate from Poland.
Modern day, like creating an economy, like helping investors to succeed, basically, I would say. That was the birth of capitalism, market economy happening, and that building mainly, right? From there, it's the roots, it's taken off. The Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Transformations, we used to call. They used to do all the selling the public enterprises and all these things. But in real investors to come to this hotel where to stay and then set up their operations. So where we played major role in succeeding their operations.
You being the ultimate bridge between India and Poland IT sector, you helped multiple Indian services companies, Infosys, TCS, Wipro, to name a few. And in this journey, you helped create over 20,000 jobs for the locals. Tell us more about that phase of your life.
Yeah, before that, I just want to conclude that our hobby is to work with the investors, right? Sure. The telecom sector. So once, like, for example, PepsiCo announced they're going to invest $500 million in India to Poland to set up a Pizza Hut delivery, Pizza Hut, KFC, Taco Bell. There's a 3-in-1 concept, 2-in-1, 3-in-1. So they announced in New York, they're going to invest $500 million in Poland. They set up first 4 restaurants in Gdansk area, but they could not start operations because they didn't get telephones. They could not get telephones. So then they approached us, right? Because we had the telephone lines in our disposal, so it is a very unusual situation. So we reached circuits from Warsaw to Gdansk and back, just to extend the telephone numbers from Warsaw to be delivered in Gdansk, which is like 350 kilometers away. So we used to find out for whatever problem, find out the solution, basically, right, for them. So at sometimes, for example, in one of the restaurants in Warsaw, Pizza Hut had a trained staff, but they could not start the operations for 6 months because could not get telephones. So I went to the Polish telecom operator, right, to represent PepsiCo interest, right. So the director said one day, Mr. Rao, I sympathize with you, but I would really want to help you, but I only have last 3 numbers there. We need to keep them in case of like some high profile visits happen that area. We need some backup. And then how to explain to the Polish people in the neighborhood that here comes an American company, get telephones in 3 months or 6 months, and here we are waiting 20 years. How can I explain to them? I said, yeah, you're right. You have a valid point, but here is investment, creating jobs, and please do whatever you can. Finally, in the end of our coffee, and he said, okay, I'm going to give these 3 numbers for you for your PepsiCo, right? So, and again, the secretary of the director said, please come on Saturday when the director has peaceful time, so you can really talk to him and get this sorted out. So lot of this kind of nitty-gritties come in play so that you solve the problem, basically, like
You had your own ways of doing it.
yeah, we have to find one way. Yes, where there's a will, there's a way. And then again, PepsiCo wanted to set up a call center, right, to handle all the delivery business. So they asked us, please help us to set up a call center. I went to the telecom operator director in that area, said, no way, I will never allow this, stolen telephone calls to be handled by one switch, you cannot handle, we will not allow you to. I said, no, but we need to make it happen. So, and after convincing, iteration, then finally, we said, but PepsiCo also wanted to have a SDH ring, for example, encryption is one side, the calls are routed the other side. Again, the director said, no way, we will not allow this one. It's about always translating the technical needs, requirements into business needs into technical requirements, and then vice versa, convincing lot of solution with creative ideas. We succeeded by supporting the investors. Then again, another interesting client we had is the PepsiCo, right, in Krakow. They invested like a few $100 million, committed when they purchased the local tobacco factory. That kind of $400 million they're supposed to invest. So they are upgrading all the infrastructure in the facility. But part of that is also replace the old telecom switch and also get a new fiber optic lines.
Yeah.
But then it was like they're collaborating with the 4 local companies in the state-owned enterprises like 𝗥𝟐, 𝗪 company, and then paper company and others. And the project was not going anywhere, right? So finally, when PepsiCo deployed me, to support them, then I again persuaded, to solve that issue. And then it was a 6 months delay, but finally we made it happen. The another interesting thing also in Warsaw, right? For example, Tesco, they would need to set up their outlet, but then there is an existing telecom cable going from Warsaw to Berlin, the long distance cable, and to make this, we need to make a road, entry to the Tesco, so they need to extra lane to build. So the cable is under this lane, so we need to replace that cable from that lane to move it side, right? But that is a very old cable, right? Numeric cables, which is very difficult to get the same parameters, technical parameters, to cut it and reconnect.
Right.
So, but then nobody was believing that it is possible, because if they don't build the road that year, there's no chance of opening that outlet that year. It will postpone to next year, right? Before the winter is approaching. So again, so I slowly I build everybody, pull together all the contractors, everybody together, so that first build trust.
Yeah.
Don't be put the blame on somebody. Let's all make every 1 hour Let's go and work, see what is happening, and come back, discuss. Let us go back again to work and come back. So that way, slowly, trust is established. And then finally, when you open the cable, there is enough space, cable, so we could move the cable instead of cutting it. It's a phenomenal.
Correct.
Right? So, with this kind of creative approaches, right, able to solve the challenges. But it was quite difficult, but we solved. Our success rate was like 100%, not 99%, because,
Now that you reflect back on those case studies, you can talk with pride, right?
of course, yes, obviously. The interesting part is in these projects, right, you have the beginning, you have the end. So whatever you start, you have the inauguration of the foundation of the techno park or office building or whatever.
Yeah.
Then slowly you're participating in the development of a project, and then in the end the inauguration. So there is a time bound.
Yeah.
So you see the results of your work, at least that gives a lot of satisfaction. And
It does. It does. Coming to the point that I earlier asked you in terms of you being the ultimate bridge between Indian IT and Polish IT,
Right.
helping Indian giants like Infosys, TCS, Wipro, name a few, establish business ties with Polish counterparts. And in that journey, helping create 20,000 plus jobs. Tell us more about how that happened.
Yeah, when after my telecommunications, right, I joined 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗦𝗵𝗵 program, which is a program in combination of the University of Minnesota and 𝗏𝗏 School of Economics, the combined program, funded by USAID. So when we were graduating in 1997, my professor, the US ambassador to Poland, Mr. Ambassador 𝗍𝗏 Ray, was the chief guest. So he said this way, that you guys are getting one of the best university degrees in the world. But please remember one thing. First, you take care of your needs, first one house, two houses, one car, two cars. But there comes time to give back to society, right? Please do remember about that. Since I come from a father which has a background of giving away everything, he has given up everything almost. We grown very poor because he thought that for the cause of independence, freedom, he was lavishly doing politics and selling up our land, right?
Yeah.
So from that, but he had impeccable integrity and respect in the society, right? I have seen myself when I was going in bicycle with him. Then so since we inherited some genes from the family, from my father, and then this ambassador also reflected. Then my wife at that time was completed her PhD, and she wanted to go to US to do postdoc. And I said, I thought my time is coming to an end in Poland. Maybe I wanted to leave some legacy, the country which gave me education, like the country where I was born. So IT industry was a hot topic in 2004, 2005 that time, right?
Yeah.
So we used to read in the newspapers, but I don't know India at all because I left when I was 17, didn't know anybody in India. But my friend who was working with me in the telco before, he became the Deputy Minister of Finance. 𝗍𝗏 his name is. So I talked with him one day, and then he said, I said, maybe we could work with India. Poland, India has similarities. Young and aspiring population, maybe size is different, hardworking, so on and so forth. Poland can become a nearshoring center for Indian IT sector. That was a big idea, right? So when I checked with him, would you support? What do you think about it? Yes, it's a good idea. Let's do it. But he studied in Harvard, so he has some global view, right? Then we initiated I went to the Indian ambassador, telling him that this is the idea. We need your help to Mr. Anil Vadava was the ambassador at that time. Nobody really understood, what is this all about. Then this minister invited me to one day to seashore for a Ministry of Finance officials meeting, where in the morning I was walking on the beach. I met one journalist. We were just chatting. I came back to India a few months before. Then a lot of fresh ideas and what I have seen here. I said to him that here are the possibilities. How this is how India is doing things. Then he said, I need to come and I need to publish an interview with you. Would you agree for that? When he came back to Warsaw, I said, okay, let's do it. The title of the interview was Nothing is Impossible. Where in India, under the leadership of the then Chief Minister 𝗃𝗵𝗱 𝗦𝗂 was able to conceive and build IT industry from scratch, Hyderabad. Now the synonym of successful IT industry in India. If in Hyderabad it can be done, it also can be done in Poland. Right? So that was the motto. And then he invited me for a conference organized by European Union in Krakow. So there I met the marshal. Then he said, yeah, you're talking, what you're talking is interesting. Will you help us in this way? I said, first of all, if you're serious, then I will put my energy, right? So I told him first, like sarcastically, that if I come to meet you, you need to switch off your phone for 1 or 2 hours to spend time with me. Are you ready for that? It is only for me to test his intentions. He was laughed, said, please come. Then, of course, obviously, I went, and then we know that, the IT minister at that time, one thing I asked him, are you ready to do the shortcut, don't go to the protocol, all this nonsense? Because whatever we're going to do, boom, boom, boom. Then he said, yeah, we'll do. Then Mr. Dayanidhi Maran, the IT minister at that time, he was visiting Stockholm. He's a delegation along with NASCOM members. Then I asked the best, can you arrange a meeting with him in Sweden? Then TCS was interested vaguely to expand to Poland. But TCS was in Hungary. They have big presence, and they're also looking for new location in Poland. So I was coordinating with the TCS head in Eastern Europe. Then with the marshal and myself and one more colleague, Ashok, we all went to Stockholm to meet them. Of course, the Indian ambassador in Poland, his wife was the ambassador in Sweden, so setting up meeting was not a difficulty. Best of what this is what the work helped us there. Then we asked, can India help us to set up IT park? That is a vague idea, which again, I have no idea how the IT industry looks like in India. Right? He said, first, you people come to India, visit and see with your own eyes, that we can discuss details. I said, it's a good idea. Then we set up a delegation, right? The marshal, university vice chancellors, and 1 or 2 IT companies, CFO, 𝗃𝗃 also joined with us. So we had like 6 cities, 28 plus meetings. It's like almost impossible to, because I wanted to show them maximum, right? We landed in Delhi, then from Delhi to Hyderabad to Chennai to Bangalore to 𝗃𝗵𝗱𝗃 to Mumbai, all in the 5 6 days. We used to finish meetings at 12 o'clock and we had to wake up at 3 o'clock to take the early morning 6 o'clock every day, right? So after like 2 3 days, we were sleeping in the meetings. But then Andhra Pradesh government officials, IT secretary called me, said, we want to meet you in the evening and discuss about how to take it forward. I said, very good, because that's also we are looking for. So when we met with them, then I saw that, so we can do some business with them. I did not favor because I'm from Andhra Pradesh. I want to be very honest with that. Then one of the director in the mighty, his name is Mr. Narotra, he told me that, look, we have so many MOIs, delegations come and go, we don't mean anything. I asked him, how can we really make some impact? He said, you please go back, once the delegation goes back to Poland, you go and meet some of these people and ask them heart to heart, how they really can help. So that's what I did, So delegation left from Mumbai, then I stayed back. Then I met the IT Minister Secretary again, Mrs. Ratnaprabha, who became the Chief Secretary in Karnataka later. That we want to do this, will you help and support? As she said, open-handedly, yes, we can. Then we signed in, we were pursuing the state. I realized that, when the relations at the state level is much more productive than central government. Okay, central government will take care of different needs, different policy decisions and so on, but real action is at the states, right? State chief minister has authority in his state to really get the job done, for investors especially. So, but it's not about policy, it is about investments make it happen. So then we commissioned state-to-state agreement with Andhra Pradesh state and Krakow region, but in the last minute, everything going very well. In the last minute, again, Mr. Narotra came back to me saying that, look, you cannot sign this agreement because, we found out that during the Rajiv Gandhi time, there was a ban on state governments and the cities to have sister city agreements. We cannot do it. Then I went to the our ambassador 𝗍𝗶 and then I said, no, we cannot give it back now. We cannot give it up because we have given assurance to Poland. They are making a lot of progress and we cannot go back now. Tell them that no, it's not possible. And then he said, let's think, let's sit down, let's think what we can do. Then he came up with a creative idea that there was a ban on MOU, but let's make it statement of operation. Just change the title, right? In the body text is the same. And then he convinced the lawyers in MBA to push it, That's what happened. So within short time, the delegation from Andhra Pradesh came. We organized first Poland India IT Forum, where we brought everybody together, right? So that's the way the journey started.
Interesting.
Yeah, with this, we educated the decision makers and others in Poland how the IT industry ecosystem is operating. Once they have seen with their own eyes, that they realize that they know what to do now. That is the way it helped, very fast. Then also our ambassador 𝗍𝗶, whenever any inquiry from any IT company is to come from India, is to connect me. So I used to take them to the Deloitte partner, for example, right, who is to give a background situation. Polish Investment Agency president, he will explain what the incentives available for investors. And then university vice chancellor, he will tell them about the talent availability and all these things. By the evening, these investors, these IT companies, CEOs, or the senior VPs, we are coming to Poland. Mr. Rao, we are comfortable. We'll set up in Poland. We don't need to go and look for Hungary or Romania or something else. So providing the right information is and sometimes willingness to help them also. Sometimes, they need help in supporting visa, right? To travel, right? Whatever is needed, I used to help them. Yeah. And it's all done pro bono, by the way. I want people to know about it. I do not charge anything. That's why I have all the freedom to do the right things in the right way. No constraints, no strings attached. What I can do or I cannot do, right? So that way, it all helped the industry take off. And total, actually, today in Poland, around 500,000 people are employed in the IT sector. Overall, total. Indian capitals alone, around 25 to 30,000 jobs they created. Mostly 90+% are Polish people, if not 95.
Mr. Rao, this is very, very interesting aspect of your life. You are not coined the ambassador for humanity without a reason. Reflecting back upon the time when, unfortunately, the war broke, I'm talking about the Ukraine war. Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And as that happened, close to 22,000 Indian students were trapped in mainland Ukraine. And as that happened, you didn't decide to just coordinate things from your desk and safety of being at home in Poland. You decided to cross the border, get into the conflict zone, and do whatever it took for you to help evacuate our Indian students from the war-lit Ukraine. We know this as Operations Ganga today, but you being at the helm of it when it really happened at ground zero, can you walk us through what those first 72 hours were like?
Yeah, it was quite challenging times. When nobody believed that Russia is going to invade Ukraine, even Ukrainians never believed that that's going to happen. So the thing that 24, I think February 24th, I think. So the first day, slowly, the heat starting building up, right? So first day, then second day, even more and more aggressive, the nature, right? Then everybody can feel Poland also, right? The pressure, right? So then it was Saturday, Friday. I called the Indian ambassador at that time. Look, things looking serious, I'm happy to volunteer, to do whatever support you need. I'm here for you to stand up and whatever coordination at airport or you need it. But prior to that, so I did some planning before doing something, right? I sarcastically asked them, I said, take the copter, taking into conflict with the Foreign Minister of India, External Affairs Minister of India, and Prime Minister of United, whoever in India is in the system, give me a diplomatic passport valid for 5-6 days. Just will help me to go and come back easily across the border and like that. I cannot do that, I understand, but I was probing, what is possible, right? Because these are external times, right? It's a war, right? So if the system or the procedure doesn't help to save a life, what good for the system is for, right? The human life is a toss, what for the procedure we have, right? What good for them? Then my roommate, when I was studying in the Warsaw Institute of Technology, he's from the border town, right? So I check with him. It was Ksistov, do you know somebody in the border security force? Because they're the one who control the access, right? Then he said, yeah, my sister is working there, but she doesn't have good relation with the directors, so she may not be able to help. And I said, okay, your sister has a friend, maybe, can help. So then he talked his sister and got one friend to help me. So I was doing planning basically. Before planning, I was going to the border, I was planning, how to handle there, right? So got one name in the border security force in that medical border to reach out to, but then that place is small, right? So I asked my friend, my roommate, ex-roommate, that please check with your sister, in case I don't get a hotel to stay, I'm going to come and stay in her house. He checked that and he said, okay, no problem, stay with her, or at least I'll leave the car or whatever, right? So then on the way, when I'm driving to the border, is around few hundred kilometers, 500 kilometers, roughly, right? 4-5 hours it takes to reach. Saturday morning, I left and reached by evening, afternoon. But on the way in the border, on the way in the gas stations already, gasoline is getting out of stock.
Wow.
So yeah, because everybody is panicking and trying to purchase as much as possible because nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. That's a typical panic reaction. Then when I went to the border, then the embassy also told me that there were 1 or 2 Indians already there, and somebody from the ministry came, 2 people. So you please meet them when you reach there. So immediately when I went there, I met them, but I already done the planning before, right? So I was trying to contact somebody in the border security officials in the border area. So I went to walk there to the medical checkpost. But this lady check out, she was in the high security zone, so not possible to talk to her. Then I said, everything is collapsed now, all the brand. Then I saw the 2 officials from the ministry from Delhi who arrived. I told them, okay. So they were also trying to establish contact the other side, but not able to. Then I said, let's drive. Let's drive. While driving, we'll establish contact the border security people. That's the idea. But physically, better the border area, we could not do that. Then I said, okay, by car, when we reach there, stop to these people in Polish, and then reach to some director at the higher level, so that discuss with them how can they help us in this crisis. Then when we were so I acted like a driver because the embassy has a car, the diplomatic car. So I asked the driver, get out. So I took message by the driver. These people sit in the back. I also have a red passport, Polish passport, right? And also the officials have the red passport. I put all these passports together. If anybody asks you together, just in case. So then went to the Polish border, the car passing point. I talked to the soldier there. I asked him, please, help me to talk to your boss. He said they're all busy. No way. Then I said, okay, please at least help me. And Ukraine said, somebody from the border security force, because they have a operational context, right? So he called someone, then he said, okay, you go there and the person is going to see you. So then we crossed the prayer side now, then went to the passport control post. They checked our passports and put a stamp. Then I asked him, please help me to contact your boss. Then he said, yeah, when he called them, I said, okay, there's Karina, her name is Karina. He said, she'll be there, you call and talk to her. But when we go there, she's not in her office, she's outside. Outside, is a huge, like, chaotic situation already. People shouting, in a confusion, state of despair. With this is like a few hundred meters from this place to this place. Here is a peaceful place, and you just go 200 meters, completely chaotic situation, right? So that was my earlier contact of the war, actually, other side. Because when I went to the medical border, I could see people walking from there on their head, keeping their suitcases, whatever they could bring from the war zone. They were walking already 2-3 days to come in, right? Then, so since we could not talk to the Karinas, and they said, okay, wait. So anyway, we crossed now, let's go inside, deep inside and see what is happening situation. It was horrible, it was like, there was a heavy lighting, in the, so roads are very well, lighted, and right, you can see everything very easily. But there are tens of thousands of people standing in the left side of the border and the right side of the border, along the road. So we, like 30-40 kilometers, we went inside. There so many people everywhere standing. Okay, and these people are controlled by every 200 meters, the army people and the security personnel, police, controlling so that there is no stampede.
Yeah.
Overcrowded immediately, right? So then what we did was, when we went there, first thing, I told these people, first we need to put gasoline, full tank, because, we don't know what is going to happen, how much we need to roam around, right? So they exchanged some money into local Ukrainian currency, then we put the gasoline, and then we went to the shop and we saw some Indians and others there, right? Then we bought whatever available in the shop, some sausages, chocolates, some bread, whatever. Then we distributed to people nearby. Not only Indians, also other Africans and others. We went to them also. And then while coming, then we said, okay, now we see what the situation is like, super severe. Then we are not trying to come back. And we were not able to come back because this security personnel not allowing us to come back. They have some system there, when you leave the border in the first point, they give you some talon, some cheat, and you have to give that in the end. Since we did not go to the end, we did not get the cheat. And even I did not know what is talon that time. It's all a chaotic situation, right? Stressful. Then we made several attempts, they did not allow. And sometimes they used to take the gun, very, they would persuade that, I don't know, try to be smart, Everybody is in a desperate situation. Then we waited, okay, let us duty change, maybe the new people will come, we'll talk to them. Because the old people, anyway, they're not allowing us, right? So we waited 1 or 2 hours extra there, here and there, then we tried to approach the other. Then finally, out of desperation, I said, okay, call your boss, whoever it is. Then some senior fellow came. Then he checked us, our passports. Our visa, unfortunately, our officials who came from India, they had Russian visa on their passport. These players got so mad, How can, who are you people, here? And there's little scriptures. They should not touch, actually. It's a diplomatic comment. They had holding diplomatic passport. They should not do. But who cares, that night in the war zone? We're going to talk to, diplomatic protocol rules and regulations.
Correct.
So they thoroughly checked the card, they thoroughly checked the, and then they allowed us to leave. So we came back around 3 o'clock in the night. I didn't have a room to stay. So they had like 40-50 kilometers away from the border. So they said, okay, stay in our room for tonight and we'll see tomorrow. That tomorrow, I said myself that there's no point of me going to the border again because there's no internet there. You cannot make calls or anything. So I said, let me sit in a hotel and make calls to India to alert the officials, right? But there's one more reason also that, I received Pravasi Samman Award, 2019. And there in the Senate, the President of India urges, in case of emergency situation, you people are requested to help support the diaspora, right? So that the moral obligation also there, right? Then I called my daughter and my son before leaving Warsaw back home. My daughter said, "Daddy, you go." My son said, "No, you don't go. It is risky because you're going to Warsaw back." But anyway, I went there. So next day onwards, I was talking to these officials in Delhi because I know many of them because I used to interact with the Prime Minister Modi that time when I was Gujarat Chief Minister in 2012, right? To invite him to Poland, I brought an official invitation letters from 3 chief ministers or equivalent to marshals of 3 regions to ruling party marshals, coalition members, and 1 opposition. So I built a consensus. So since that time I know many officials who are in the close to the establishment here in India, right? So I was reaching them, alerting them that situation is grave and serious. We need to act fast. There is no time because 3 days already these people are suffering of cold and lack of food and all these things. And then slowly that evening, I met the ambassador. She came from Warsaw. Then we were trying to go back again to the border, but then again somebody advised us, please don't do that. Yes, not advisable. So we did not go. Then we came back. So next day, I was almost literally all the time with the ambassador, helping her local logistics organization. We went to the governor of that region. Because that region has a cooperation agreement with Gujarat, again, the coincidence. Which the state-to-state collaboration agreements which are commissioned, 2004, 5, expanded to other regions, right? The 𝗪𝗃 region had entered a MOU with the Gujarat state.
Sure.
So that leadership of that state region visited Vibrant Gujarat a couple of times. So like now you're going to your in-laws kind of thing. There is a relationship there, everybody knows each other, right? So the governor said, told us, I told to the governor, look, give us a 10 diplomatic number plates. You talk to your prime minister, take him into conference. Give us 10 diplomatic number plates so we can hire 10 buses. These people can ferry back and forth. This is a good idea, but I cannot do that. Again, the same argument, right? What good this procedure is? It cannot help people's lives. Then, but one thing, good outcome came from that meeting was that the governor advised that you don't go to these 2 checkposts, crossing points like Medica and there one more, right? Don't go there. It's too heavy traffic. There are too many people are crossing there. Go to the 2 smaller ones. There it will be much easy to do the
Migration.
border crossing basically. So that helped actually. So after this, embassy issued new advisory. People to go the 2 other locations.
Yeah.
So then slowly people are piling up, right? More and more people are coming. And then when we went to the airport vice president, to discuss about logistics of the planes coming from India, right? For the evacuation. Then we all agreed, what to do, how to do all the processes. Then the next day, the planes started coming into, and then General 𝗣𝗃 Singh came in the first flight, and then later on the military aircraft also 𝗪-17 because animals cannot be sent on the civil aircraft. Sure, animals, the military aircraft.
So you know animals as well.
Yeah, dogs, other pets, cats, somebody has even life there. You wanted to bring his life. You did not handle that, So, but it was a very stressful situation, right? When we used to get hundreds of phone calls and thousands of phone calls, then you need to do all the logistics of this. I was mainly along with ambassador, Indian ambassador there, and also Mrs. Nagma Malik, and then General 𝗣𝗃 Singh. We were 3 almost spent all the time in the airport and also in the city doing the other things, right? Then slowly more people are coming, more flights are coming, right? All the evacuation happening in a fast way. And then I think so one student, he got 4 or 5 bullets, Harjot Singh. So he is supposed to arrive 6 in the evening from Kyiv by ambulance. And then we loaded all the people to the military aircraft. Everybody is waiting to take off. The moment he comes, we take off. But his journey delayed by almost 12 hours. Yeah, instead of evening 6, it came in morning 6. So everybody is waiting in the plane, and then the moment he arrived, then took off, right? I came, ambassador asked me, please travel with him in case something was wrong, I can rely on you. So we, with the help of a doctor, right? Dr. 𝗃𝗵𝗴𝗱𝗃 was a senior in Poland. So brought him to fly from Naka, Poland to south of Poland. So we both had been assisting the 𝗪𝗀 Singh along the journey. So we landed in Delhi. But then by the time everybody came back, all the ministers, everybody came back from Poland, from Hungary, from Hungary and Romania, right? The ministers who came for evacuation purpose. So, but there are still 850 people roughly stuck in Sumi. Who is going to take care of them? So in Delhi, I was persuading again that these people need to be also, handled. This evacuation is not complete. Then I met some officials, in the government. I was pleading them. So they gave an advice that, please prepare 3 points what government of India can do, should do in that situation.
So they asked you for that.
Yeah. Please, what do you think? What? Because crying in front of us is not going to help. I was very emotional because it was, these people are stuck, and is a very close to the front line. Like 20 kilometers of the Russian border, where all the action is happening. So if you don't help them quickly, power could go anytime out, and then no food. We don't have access to contact with them. So situation could be dramatic anytime. So I said, we don't have time, to think. We need to act fast, quick. Then they said, please suggest 3 points. What could be? What would you suggest? Then I came back to hotel, and then I sent 5 points, right? First, dry food, and then power bank in case power goes. You need to supply to them, and then talk to Starlink, maybe they provide satellite internet connection, for example, and then talk to Russians and talk to Ukrainians, so that they open the border for 2-3 hours, so that these people can go to Russia, because that is very nearby in the border, 20 kilometers only, instead of all the way one and a half day coming from there to this side. If the Russians agree, Ukrainians agree, they could be taken out to Russia, and then further is not a problem, right, to evacuate. So then I went next day to meet this official again. The gentleman said, look, you send me the points, the government took action. Means that same day, 2 joint secretaries from the Ministry of External Affairs were sent to Ukraine via Romania to handle the situation. So they went there, whatever needed to be done. In the meantime, whatever the government level, whatever they had to coordinate, they did with the Russians, with the Ukrainians, and with everybody. And finally, these people were evacuated. But again, they came to Poland all the way. So I was monitoring with one girl what is the situation happening on the train. She's from Gujarat, actually, this girl also. I told her, please don't tell anyone, but keep me informing what is happening in the train, what is happening for all of you people. So she, time to time, she used to doubt me, who are you, and why should she inform me, But I had to establish, trust in her, that, look, I'm doing this, Finally, she believed me, she trusted me, and she was. Then they were getting down in Lviv town, and by bus they're supposed to go to Poland. I said, what makes sense, with the train, if the train safe and is warm, so no need to get down and do all these things again. Through intervention, the whole train reached Poland. Then again, so once they reach Poland, first is safe, then the rest are taken care of by the embassy officials and ambassador and everybody.
Nice. At this juncture, I would like to thank you on behalf of all the Indians for standing tall on ground zero and helping so many people.
Yeah, it was a call of my duty, I was myself the student, so I could I could see the pain of these students, right? It is very natural way to connect with them, right?
It doesn't. We get into something which is very close to your heart. We talk about all this while we're talking about history, but now let's talk future. You have brainchild something that's going to be the next wave of innovation in India and across the globe. Your objective is to upskill and rightly skill 500,000 people on quantum computing.
AI quantum intersection.
AI and quantum intersection. Now, when you talk about that, you also believe that India is mass producing coders and developers, but there is still a skill gap that needs to be eliminated. And you also frame this in a way that if India misses the bus for quantum computing, then we'll probably be 200 years behind.
No, 200 years will be colonized by in a different way now. Yesterday it was East India companies, today technology companies.
Interesting. Tell us more about this aspect of yours.
Well, I'm in regular touch with one of the provosts of the leading university in the world. I would not name it, maybe, so that not to put him in a difficult situation. We talk a lot, every second day, other day. So one of the things, we came up with that, how to help or how to, support, in the quality education, for example, right? Bringing the best of the best from the leading Ivy Leagues, the first 3 universities in the US or in Europe, mingle them with the best university in India and co-create the content for the AI. So that is already taking a shape. Honorable Minister of Education has taken that initiative, right? That is already, the process has started. Then he told me that, okay, since that is already taken care, why don't you go and pursue it, on the quantum side? I'm going to help from here, from the USA. So please, pursue that. So then I said, okay, it's a good idea. Why not? So then in the process, we realized that, so again, 𝗃𝗏 𝗦𝗃 is again pioneering the Amravati Quantum Valley and all these things. A lot of attention and things are happening. Then I did some research in that area. Then I said, and also I was in the February this year in the India-EU forum organized by Minister of External Affairs and Ananta Foundation. There I can also see that, a lot of interaction, interesting engagement going to happen with the European Union and India of this conclusion of this free trade agreement, and now it's going to be signed end of this year, right? There is renewed vigor and interest between Europe and EU and India to be engaged. Then I said, expand this collaboration. Let's do it global quantum alliance kind of thing. Bring you best of the best institutes or labs or whoever working on the quantum, like top 2, 3 in the US and in Europe also. Luckily, there are phenomenal places, right, doing in quantum research.
Yeah.
Like Niels Bohr Institute in Denmark, and then Hegel University in Krakow, right? France has some, Finland has some built quantum computer recently announced, Sweden. So bring this research institutes, engage them with the Indian top universities or institutes, first to create a content for India, maybe for the world too. Then comes research and faculty exchange and students exchange. Then third will be innovation and startups and technology solutions for India, for Europe, for the world. So we need to create an ecosystem, right, to take this happen. But what I feel, what I believe that yesterday IT industry is a different level. Today we have different with the AI, but quantum will be much more difficult thing, right? You need to have deep mathematics and physics knowledge, and you cannot grow them in 3 months like in the IT industry was doing last 30-40 years, right? You have to create from the elementary school, the content, introduction to, luckily I was in IIT Madras event in Delhi 2 days ago, and there are some initiatives already the government of India is doing in the Ministry of Education. I met yesterday the Secretary Sanjay Kumar and Dr. Joshi. There are already initiatives that doing in the AI for elementary school and high school. So same thing we need to do in quantum also. They are like great. They're quite supportive. Again, I was mesmerized by their positive response actually. So the last 3-4 months, I'm going around, pursuing with the state governments and universities, right? We need to think about it first of all, right? Let's think and let's act there. And then I met the governor of Dr. Haribabu. He gave very interesting thought process again. He already initiated a process a few months ago with the ministers of Odisha government and secretaries of the government. Even before I met him, he had already taken a call on this. So please introduce a policy to support the quantum ecosystem in the state of Odisha. So he's very forward looking because he has PhD in electronics and communications. So he's thinking person, very visionary. So that gave him more thought process, and I'm also advocating all the other state governments were going to do the same thing. Right. I met the Chief Minister of Goa and the Governor of Goa. Very positively responded this one, and I see that there is some interest, some things are happening, but we need to coordinate and we need to engage with the world, with the best of the best. Like one professor from Jagadeswara University who did a PhD there, is a potential candidate for the Nobel Prize in the quantum. Right? I was speaking to the dean yesterday. He was saying that, look, he's so busy that we cannot waste his time. So it is a time for India now to engage the best of the best institutes who is working on the quantum, co-create content, introduce, start working on research projects. Especially EU is going to have some funds for Indian universities and researchers to work on. Because in the meeting, in the conference in February, the EU commissioner was saying that India will be a part, like EU member state, to have access to EU funds for R&D. So it's a very good news for Indian universities and researchers to engage. But to engage, we need to have an agreement with working relationship with the universities. So what I'm now trying to do is to make as many that kind of agreements as possible between the universities here in India and universities in Europe. Then once the opportunities arrive, so they can take off quickly. So that is what this Global Quantum Alliance is about. Yesterday, one of our advisors met the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, Ambassador Tanzit Sandhu. He also very positively responded to make Dwarka as a hub for innovation. So I think time is right, to engage. Even Dr. Narayana Murthy also very positively responded. There is a good idea, building the global quantum bridge. So I think that is what is needed at the moment. So that's my conviction. I'm not an IT expert.
You have a vision.
I have a vision. Yes.
You backing it up.
Yes.
In 2019, you won the prestigious Pravasi Bharatiya recognition, which is given to very few people, your class and cadre. What do you think, close to 32 million strong diaspora that we have today, Indian diaspora I'm talking about, how do you think they are responsible for the future of India and what role can they play? Citing few examples from your own ways of doing things.
Yes, it was. I'm honored, for the government of India to recognize for this award. But actually, the much benefit also from the Poland ecosystem of this work. But what I believe, what the way we lived in Poland is a small Indian community, but also other foreign students of my times, be integrated in the society. It's very, very important. You cannot live in a ghetto and expect, other people to understand you. You have to mingle with them. You need to establish some relationship and bridge across. That's one. And second, Dr. Kalam always used to say in the Pravasi conferences that first, you people take care the interests of the country where you are living, adopted country. Then, the remaining time or resources, whatever you have, you can contribute to the country of birth, right? So it is, he's right? That's why we can see a lot of backlash what's happening in America today, there is a disconnect. So, the diaspora, either the Indian diaspora or any diaspora, in that matter, they need to integrate in the society where they've been operating and living, first of all, the number one.
Yep.
And number two, what good you can do for the local people and for your own people, for anybody. Because that is the best testament you can leave for people to respect you tomorrow.
Mr. Rao, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Most importantly, you being one of few people that I know who's actually touched upon everywhere you belonged. Coming from India, you always have India at heart. Living and scaling in Poland, you've done great things for Polish community and the country. And now being a global citizen to continue to add value for everybody around me. That makes me feel that you are special. And the world needs more people like you in order for us to have that torchbearer approach where the right things continue to happen. May you always succeed in all your missions, because I'm sure all of those missions are somewhere aligned to the better of humanity, the better of each country that you stayed and worked and lived in. And most importantly, for the betterment of our nation, the proud India that all of us belong to. With that being said, I come to the end of this episode, and I'm extremely thankful for your time today.
Thank you very much, Sunil. It was a pleasure, and it was happy that I'm able to come and see you finally.
Thank you so much, Rao. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Rao Madhukuri, an amazing Indian who has not let borders stop him from doing the right things for our country. And in doing so, he's also done great things for the countries that he's lived and worked with. Please continue to subscribe and follow us on this channel so that we can bring more such meaningful conversations to you. Until then, this is me signing off. Thank you.